That easy, that simple. My job's done. He sent you the location, and what? What made you say, oh, stop walking? No, we're gonna come to the rescue. No, actually, we're not. Should we send you a cab? No, we're not. Actually, oh, these guys are killing me with this. Lying, 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 lying. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again for part 3 to the Mark Williams Thomas J SLATER podcast. Seems clear as day to me, ladies and gentlemen, that the theory I was giving you guys from the get-go, that Lucy, Brandon, Ayub were playing Mark Williams Thomas, that seems to be the case. This was a part of my theory way before we ever heard anything that Brandon would have said. Way before we heard anything Lucy had said directly to Mark Williams Thomas. I just knew he had been played by these kids. In my opinion, something dark and sinister has happened to J SLATER, ladies and gentlemen. Ayub, Lucy, and Brandon, as well as Brad, are covering this up. Now, what's extremely questionable at this point, ladies and gentlemen, is throughout that whole podcast, there was nothing from Brad. There was no audio from Brad whatsoever. It was as if Mark Williams Thomas didn't even speak to Brad. And I'm starting to think that is the case, because there was a part of the podcast where Mark Williams Thomas said that Lucy and Brad left Tenerife, and that would have been within 7 days of Jay going missing. So where did Isla and Brad do that interview? It's weird that Mark Williams Thomas doesn't mention anything about Brad in regards to his conversations with Brad, what Brad said, where Brad might have went that evening. Was Brad at the Airbnb? Did he go back to his apartment? Did he take the key off Jay? I mean, none of that was confirmed in the podcast. In fact, there was information given in the podcast that Haley Comet had months ago. Brad jumped out of the car and Ayub was screaming for him to get back into the car. Brad, for some reason, felt half-hearted about getting into the car, and he claimed that he couldn't piss because he was under a lot of care. Now, apparently, that was meant to have been the day after Jay had gone missing. Then you got to ask yourself, if that's the case, why would Brad be on care the following day? Your friend's gone missing, but you're still on the strip taking care. It's been like a whole 24 hours. The moment where Brad jumped out of the car was at night. That has to be the time where Ayub claimed him, Lucy, and Rocky, and whoever went to the mountains at night and were calling Jay, Jay in the mountains. But then you then have to ask yourself is, why were they doing that at night when Jay left 8 o'clock in the morning the following morning? What are we doing? Is this another one of them trying to make it look like? Or are we saying that night when you were all in the car together and Brad jumps out was the night when it all happened? And you went to the Airbnb to fabricate all of this BS. The same night you recorded Ayub driving in the front of the car, Brandon in the passenger seat, someone clearly with Jay's phone, and I believe that person to be Lucy, and then that message is written, just stolen a Rolex. Is that the night where Brad jumps out of the car? Is Brad already out of the car at that point? Whoever's at the back with Jay's phone is pointing the phone at Ayub. You slightly see a glimpse of Brandon's head. That's how I know it's Brandon. But they don't turn to the left to show anyone that's sitting next to them. It's starting to make sense that it was that night when they were in the car together. They started fabricating all of the evidence to make it look like Jay had stolen a watch. They got to the Airbnb. They made a second version. That version was changed from Rolex to AP, and from one smiley kid to 2. The picture of Jay in the back of the car where we have Ayub taking that picture, that would have been taken at night outside the Airbnb. So they were all at the Airbnb making it look like Jay was there. That would have been the same time where they took the video of Jay and the blanket and the cigarette. Whoever was wearing that blanket wasn't Jay. Lucy referred to that video but didn't mention the blanket. And something else that is now crucial and proves that these men fabricated it is Ophelia doesn't even recognize the blanket. Ophelia doesn't recognize the blanket. Why does she recognize the blanket if the blanket belongs to the Airbnb? It's funny because when Ayub speaks to Mark on that podcast through the audio, which would have been the first ever time Mark speaks to Ayub, when he is asked about the blanket, listen to the way he confirms that that blanket belongs to the Airbnb. You can tell he is lying. Oh wow, we're going to listen to all of that, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't got there yet. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if we are newly watching. Let's get back into this.
Seen him in a coffee shop before.
But hang on, but Brandon introduced Jay and Brad.
Let's start right here, ladies and gentlemen, because there's something that Lucy does that once again proves she knows more than she's telling. Ultimately, she's lying.
Brandon must know them. How does he know them? What are they involved in, Lucy? Lucy, you just got to be straight with me here. What are they involved in?
I am.
Firstly, see how long she is taking. She is thinking. She could even have someone beside her listening to what Mark Williams Thomas is saying and kind of indicating for her to say certain things. However, listen to what she actually says here.
Straight. They're not involved in anything together. I don't have a clue. I don't know how he knows them.
Not involved in anything. I don't have a clue. I don't know how he knows them.
It's passing in a coffee shop. That's all.
But then she says, oh, it's passing in a coffee shop. That's all I know. But she just said she doesn't know. So which one is it? You don't know or you do know? Or it is just passing in a coffee shop. Now that's funny that she mentions that because Brandon in his audio is going to say exactly the same thing, which clearly shows you that Lucy and Brandon have corroborated a certain story, a certain narrative to make it look like. This is the reason why Lucy gave Mark Williams Thomas that information, passed in a coffee shop. Do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ayub Qasim's story. So all of this information that they're giving Mark Williams Thomas is going to later get downplayed by Ayub and ruled out as BS. And then there's going to be no one to object it. No one to then stand up and say, no, you are Johnny Vegas, or no, you are a mystery man and I don't know who you are. They're just going to allow Ayub to take control of the narrative and play it out however he wants to play it out because it's his story. They're just accommodating it to prevent people from going jail and the operation going bust. I mean, this whole cover-up is for the sake of the operation that was taking place at the Airbnb, literally. None of these guys have showed any form of sympathy, empathy, or care in the world towards Jay whilst telling Mark Williams Thomas their version of events. Let's keep listening.
But you don't pass people in a coffee shop and then and then spend 2 nights with them and then Jay goes back with them. And why are they staying so far away from Los Cristianos?
This is what I mean. I don't know why they're staying up there. I don't know. I had never met these people in my life. I don't know who
But
they
you went
are.
in a car with them the next day.
Ayub's going to contradict that later on down the line. When Ayub speaks to Mark Williams Thomas, he's going to tell Mark that he has Lucy, Brad, all of these men on social media. He can contact Debbie if he wants. That's the attitude that he has. That's the first ever time Ayub spoke to Mark Williams Thomas when he said that.
I would have been down to them myself.
Okay.
If I knew who they were, I would have been down to them myself and I would have been saying, what is going on?
If you knew who they were, you would have been down there yourself. Hold on, wasn't you with them the following day then to go all the way up there to look for Jay? Didn't you get Lena Patel to take you to the B&B on the day that Jay went missing? Actually, let's even delete that. Didn't you tell the Spanish police that you stayed at the Airbnb that night and when you woke up, Jay was gone? See, at the end of this podcast, Mark Williams Thomas has a Q&A more or less. And he basically says that people have been asking him why Lucy stayed at the Airbnb. His response to that is Lucy's GPS proved that she was in Los Cristianos that morning when she received the call from Jay's phone. What we have to bear in mind is that she could have drove back to Los Cristianos when they were planting this part of the story. You have to remember, if they're driving towards the Airbnb and they're in the back of the car fabricating Jay stealing this Rolex, it means that at some point they went to the Airbnb. That clearly was the night leading up to them saying that Jay would have left the Airbnb. Now, before they've made this report and said that Jay's gone missing, Lucy has left the Airbnb and gone back to Los Cristianos. Whilst there, that's when she decided to do red alert, Jay's gone missing, Facebook accounts, as well as the phone calls to and from Jay's phone to prove that her location was in Los Cristianos. That was all done that morning. It was a part of the scheme. It was a part of the plan.
I found the house and I went up and the door was slightly open. They were just weird. There's something weird about them. But why are they even allowed to leave the country? It's just so many questions.
Okay, so
look at that. So when she found the house, the door was slightly open. Remember when Ayub done the video of him sitting on the step, showing himself on the step, wearing his pink t-shirt, I believe that would have been done the day that they claimed Jay went missing. Ayub knew that this is all going to come and bite him in the ass because he had to put his name on the Airbnb. He even told us that himself. He knew this was all going to happen. That's why he put a fake name on the Airbnb. But she says the door was slightly open when she got there. Oh, it was a bit weird. And then she went into, it doesn't make sense how they got made irrelevant. And then Mark Williams Thomas kind of interjected. It seems like she's trying to take the attention away from her and highlight Ayub being allowed to leave the country within 24 hours. Really trying to play those mind games, but she knows how and why Ayub got made irrelevant within those 24 hours.
How are we going to find them? Brandon must know who they are.
I don't have a clue. I don't know. This is what I mean. I don't know. If I knew who they were, I would have come and spoke to them myself. I've been trying to do diggings to find out who they are, but I'm not no detective.
So does Brandon know who the two black men are? So let's start with the end point, really, is I need to know who these two guys are. The two black guys.
The two fellas that he's obviously house with.
So he went back to the rental with. Who are they?
I don't really know them, yeah.
Okay.
All I know
I don't really know them, yeah? And then he goes on to say, all I know...
is, obviously, I've lived in Tenerife for a while, on and off.
Obviously, they all speak the same, don't they? Obviously, I've lived in Tenerife for quite a while.
So what, 17?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so since I've been living there this time, these fellas called out. So obviously I go out for a drink, like any known does. And they come in
The question was, Brandon, who are the two men? He's done exactly what Lucy done in the last video and waffled away. It makes no sense. You want to tell us now that you've been in Tenerife for a couple of years. He didn't ask you for context. He asked you who those two men are. But what it seems like these guys are doing is trying to paint context for Mark to give a reason as to why they actually do know the person that Mark is asking them about. Otherwise, if they didn't know the person, there would be a straight, direct answer. Mark, I don't know who those guys are. I never met them before. Simple. But these guys are waffling away because they're lying. They're making it up. Parts of it will be true, like him being in Tenerife for a number of years. He's given us waffle because it gives him time to think about what he's trying to waffle about.
I don't really know. I don't know him at all.
I don't really know him at all. So if that's the case, Brandon, why have we had Ayub for the last 10 months claiming that you are his mate, you're his best mate? Why would he be around you? He's going to get you in the Telegram group. Ayub has basically said that Brandon's his mate and that's how he knows Jay. So how are you telling Mark Williams Thomas you don't really know him at all? Lying. Lying, lying, lying. Which means you can't take the story that's been given by Lucy or Brandon seriously. You can't take it as fact. You can't take it to be truthful, which means you can't believe that Jay falling off that cliff was an accident.
So tell me what their names are.
Don't know what the names are. Don't know the name. I know one of them.
He says, I don't know what their names are. I think one of their nicknames is Johnny.
Johnny or something like that. I don't know the other fella.
I don't know the other fella, but then goes on to say what?
No, his name. It begins with R or something like that.
It begins with R or something like that. So you can see how they are now playing out the narrative. The narrative that Brandon, Lucy, and Ayub have created within that 24-hour window that they had to create it. Faking Jay stealing a Rolex. Faking Jay having these two knives. We're going to go on to Lucy again because Lucy actually tries to verify what Josh says. She even says that Josh wouldn't make it up. And then follows on by saying, I don't even know him. I don't even know him, but he wouldn't make it up. Oh my God.
His name begins with R.
Yeah, one of the words part of him has got.
Look at that. Look at that. A question was asked and he quickly deflected and tried to change the subject. One of the names was beginning with R. Yeah, Potter's Papers, Calf. Yeah. Literally tried to deflect and change the subject. He wanted to take Mark Williams Thomas's mind elsewhere. Why? Because he knew and realized he was saying too much. You don't know the guy, but you know his name begins with R. And you tell us Ayub's name is Johnny, who later then says he doesn't even know who Johnny Vegas is. He actually gets Johnny Vegas mixed up with Peter Kay. So clearly it was Brandon that told Mark Williams Thomas about Johnny Vegas. Now you can understand how they were playing the game, how they were playing out their narrative, making it look like a certain way. Ayab's just a guy from the CAF. Don't really know him like that. Think he goes by the name of Johnny. The guy that he was with, don't know him, but his name began with an R. Again, manipulation at its finest, manipulating what Mark Williams Thomas is thinking, feeling, and ultimately what he's believing at this moment in time. And that's what I told you they've been doing from day one.
Potter's paper.
Potter's paper.
It's called Potter's Garden. One of them works in there.
One of them works in there.
So they go there every so often, like, they don't actually properly live on the island. They go home for 2 weeks and then might come back for a week.
Oh, is that him trying to cover Ayab's back? So he's saying, no, he doesn't actually stay here. He comes here, works maybe a few days, kind of helps out, and then goes back to the UK. He's back in the UK for a couple of weeks, and then he might come back over. That's his way of legitimizing Ayab's trips to and from Tenerife when really they're running a drug operation. Like part of that drug operation was operating from the Airbnb. They had a choice. It was either life in jail or throw this Airbnb, this trap yard, into the bin. What are we going to choose? Go jail for the rest of our life because of what's just happened with Jay? Or are we going to sacrifice this Airbnb and make it look like an Airbnb, knowing that we've been trapping from this spot for a good couple of months? And yeah, Ophelia does know about it. Ophelia works directly with the agent who I work directly with, who allows us to run the operation from this location. The same guy that would have got me deemed irrelevant to the investigation within 24 hours. Actually, go back to the very, very beginning. People like Peter Bexley was already indirecting what was going on. People just wasn't listening. They knew, but they couldn't do anything because they had no jurisdiction. The same way Mark Williams Thomas had no jurisdiction. We can't stand around talking about drugs and stuff when the focus for you guys should only be Jay Slater. Where is Jay Slater? That's the focus. Not talking about narcotics, not talking about what's happening on the strip, not talking about what happens at Airbnb. No, that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about where Jay Slater is. Now you can understand why the Spanish police never worked with the media, why the Spanish police didn't want the UK police involved. You know, it's clear as day, ladies and gentlemen.
They are telling me the truth. Then neither of them know the two black men, other than through social...
They're lying, Mark, aren't they? Because we've got from the horse's mouth, Ayab Qasim confirming that him and Brandon are good mates. He also confirms to you that Lucy and Brad, he follows on social media. He can get in contact with any one of them. He can contact Jay's mum if he wanted to. He said that to you in the first audio that you did with him. So how are you now saying, well, Lucy and Brandon don't know who this guy is? What are we talking about?
On the phone, he said to me, I've been walking already for half an hour because I tried to tell him to go back. And he said, oh, I've already been walking half an hour. I'm not going back. I don't want to go back. I just want to go home.
Look at that. So this is Brandon confirming that Jay had left the Airbnb. But if you actually listen to what he's saying, he tells us exactly what Lucy told us. When she spoke to him, he had already been walking for 30 minutes. It's the same story. So think about it. They're both telling us the same story. That they spoke to Jay. He was walking up for 30 minutes. They both told him to go back. And he says, no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. Brandon just changes the last part and says, Jay says, I want to go home. Now, make that make sense, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a Jay that wanted to continue partying. We're talking about a Jay that wanted one more drink. We're talking about a Jay that was left by his friends. We're talking about a Jay that gave his key away to Brad. We're talking about a Jay that wanted to go back to an Airbnb, which was 45 minutes to an hour away from where he was at, although his hotel was only 8 minutes from where he was at. He wants to go back to this Airbnb. He stays there for literally 40 minutes. Before he even gets there, he takes a video of himself saying that he just stole a Rolex, which none of them know about. He then gets there, takes a video of himself with a blanket that Ayab allegedly gave to him, although Ophelia can't even confirm that blanket. She doesn't even recognize that blanket. Yet, Ayab confirms he got that out of the cupboard and he gave it to Jay. Jay wraps himself up with this blanket, decides to have a cigarette, film himself whilst doing that, adding the landscape to that footage, and then just decides he wants to leave. He does all of that within a space of 40 minutes. When he leaves, he goes the wrong way. And whilst on the phone to Brandon, he says, what? I just want to go home. So the Jay that we saw in the nightclub that put his arm around Brandon at 1:30 in the morning, who we looked at and said, he looks like he's telling Brandon he wants to go home. Brandon is saying to us, no, actually, Jay said that to me on the phone when he was just about to go off road. So when he actually said that to Brandon on the phone, Jay was still on the road. It also means that Jay had enough battery to send his location to them at that point if they didn't know where he was. But it's only then where Jay doesn't want to go to the Airbnb anymore. No, he doesn't want to go for that last drink. He doesn't want to go back and party anymore. No, he doesn't want to do any of that. He just wants to leave and he wants to go home. That's what he wants to do. Now, based on that information, Mark Williams Thomas has come up with the theory of Jay stealing Ayab's cat. And that's why he didn't want to return to the B&B, clearly giving Ayab a motive, but then still following through by saying, no, actually, it was only an accident. Make it make sense, Mark.
I've been told of an important piece of information about Jay's state of mind.
The night before when I was awake, before we'd gone home, and he'd messaged me saying, oh, I'm going on a mission.
And what Qasim says...
What? Hold on. That's Lucy now playing her part, planting that seed to make it look like Jay's up to no good. She basically said the night before, which would have been as Jay's bank cards declined, this would have also been prior to seeing them all together at the NRG festival based on what she just said, because we've got evidence to say that Brandon, Lucy, Brad, and Jay were all together when Jay had his t-shirt off, looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. That was all around the hours of 1:30 in the morning. It was only an hour later, Jay is texting someone telling them that he feels like they've put a marker on him. So what is Lucy talking about when she says the night before, Jay told her he's on a mission? Again, this is how they're trying to make it look like, pointing fingers at Jay, making it look like it's all on Jay. And they're all doing it as well. If you actually listen to all of their stories, Ayab's story, Brandon's story, Lucy's story, even Brad's story, they're all pointing fingers at Jay. They're all basically saying it's all on Jay. It's all Jay's fault. Jay's the one that decided to put that picture up of him stealing a Rolex. We don't know anything about it. Jay was the one that made the second version of it, saying it was an AP and now he's with 2 Somali kids. We don't know anything about it. Lucy in a minute's going to confirm that Josh couldn't have been lying, even though she doesn't know who he is. And she says she doesn't know who he is. He couldn't have been lying when he said that Jay sent him a picture of 2 knives stuffed down his the glitch is coming in again. The glitch, trousers, his bottoms, his pants, his shorts. So what they're basically doing to Mark Williams Thomas is painting a narrative to make it look like Jay was just losing his brain. And we don't know why. We have no idea. You know, in fact, we just somehow disappeared. And he was all by himself. And we have no explanation as to why that happened. Oh, you know what? I went home alone. That's what happened. I went home alone. But what I'll do is I'll tell the Spanish police that I was at the Airbnb that morning, and when I woke up, Jay was gone. And them lot told me that Jay went off to go and get some cigarettes. And then I got the call from Jay at 8:50 saying he's lying in a ditch, cut by a cactus, and it feels like he's going to die. And instead of going to his last ping location, what we decided to do was just call the police. Then we just spent the whole day just chilling. And then the next day, we decided to all link up during the night, and that's when we went to go and look for Jay in the mountains. Yeah, that's what we did. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about to get even more interesting. Keep listening.
I believe is very significant and provides real context to a number of very important aspects of the case. This information is revealed for the first time.
In the end, I was like to Brandon, look, Brandon, one of your mates yesterday walked away because he's fucked off with the and he went missing.
So the way Ayab says that, listen, I want to move on from this bit because I just want to focus on Lucy and Brandon for this video. But just to quickly touch on this part from Ayab, the way he's explaining this to Brandon is as if this happened yesterday and Brandon knows nothing about it. Hold on, wasn't Brandon with Jay the night he went missing? Wasn't they all together and went off about doing their own thing and left Jay with Ayab the night he went missing? So how was he talking to Brandon as if Brandon doesn't know anything about it and this all happened yesterday? Don't worry, like I said, we're going to get back to Ayab's part because it just doesn't make any sense to me.
When he talked to you, he said he'd already been walking 30 minutes, did he?
Yeah, so I spoke to him first at 21 minutes past 7.
Yeah.
I spoke to him first at 21 minutes past 7. Really specific about the time. I want to let you guys know it was around that time, but a video of Jay wearing the blanket would have been uploaded onto his Snapchat because that happened around 7:30.
And he put the foot there and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna go." So he was in the house. He was sat on the bed, like on the settee, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go sleep or whatever."
And were you videoing this, or was this audio?
It was on Snapchat video.
Snapchat video, okay, yeah. And then what happened?
Then he put the foot. Then I said, "Oh, right, I'm
It's
going."
so weird that everything's just done on Snapchat video. At this point, it's kind of explaining that Jay was wrapped up in this blanket, more or less. That's what he's indirectly saying, because he was saying Jay was on the bed on the settee, clearly thinking about the story he's put together with Ayub. Ayub told us at this point he would have heard Jay downstairs messaging people, going in and out having ciggies. But one thing he failed to mention is that Rocky was also sleeping downstairs. So how can he assume it was Jay and not Rocky? But this is clearly them, Brandon and Ayub, coming together to corroborate a story to make it look like. And that's what this has always been about, ladies and gentlemen. Controlling perception, making it look like, manipulating the way you think, feel, and ultimately what you believe.
I wrote this on the answer. I lost my head. I could be on sick and fall. He said, "Yeah, no worries." Then he rang me.
Hold on. So let's just quickly pause that because it sounded like he was mumbling there. I want to just listen to that part again.
Saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go. So he was in the house. He was sat on the bed, like on the settee, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go sleep or whatever."
And were you videoing?
So he's saying, "I'm going to go asleep or whatever." So Jay told you he was going to go asleep or whatever, but then decided just to leave. Just decided to leave. Yeah, I'm just going to leave. And I mean, it does actually fit Mark Williams Thomas's narrative. The way they're painting it, it would make you think, yeah, he stole something from the Airbnb and he left immediately. That's the reason why he didn't want to go back. But that's how the story makes a person feel. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what happened. There is no proof that Jay stole Ayub's cat and left that Airbnb in a hurry. That's just Mark Williams Thomas's theory. That's what he believed may have happened. Now, if he believed that may have happened, you're basically giving a motive to Ayub. So how can you then say it was just an accident? Because no one is running up in someone's trap, stealing drugs and getting away with it. That just doesn't happen, my friend.
Yes, or was this audio?
It was on Snapchat video.
Snapchat video, okay, yeah. And then what happened?
Then he put the foot. Then I said, "Oh, right, I'm going now." I wrote this on the answer. I lost my head. I could be on sick and fall. He said, "Yeah, no."
Well, he's saying now, I told you I want to go now because he's kind of off his head. But if we take ourselves back to the last bit of footage of Jay where he's waved out of his face, Brandon is standing stone cold. In fact, the moment Lucy comes down the stairs, he is quick to leave Jay and walk straight over to her. And he's trying to make it look like at this point that Jay's at the Airbnb doing sleepovers. How? Why? Like he ain't got his own apartment that his mum paid for. You're trying to make it look like he's at this Airbnb with people you don't know doing sleepovers.
Then he rang me. He was texting me, sending videos, which were he was outside again.
Right.
He was texting me and sending me videos and stuff, and then he was just outside again.
I said, "What are you doing?"
And then you rang him and said, "What are you doing?"
"Oh, I'm sat off walking, me lad."
And then he goes, "Oh, I've started off walking, you know, lad." Oh man, when I listen to this story is so fake. It is unbelievable. He is clearly corroborating Ayub's side of the story. See, Brandon doesn't need to remember that Rocky was there. Ayub totally forgets Rocky was there. He never mentions Rocky being there when he talks about what Jay was doing downstairs. And here we have Brandon giving us an explanation as to what Jay was doing downstairs. Nothing. Taking video calls and sending messages to me. Then decides to leave, although he told me about 2 minutes ago he was about to go to sleep. Why would Jay even be there getting ready to sleep anyway? Brandon is literally here trying to normalize this sleepover, which didn't turn out to be a sleepover because Jay decided to leave within 40 minutes of being there. He made sure he got evidence of him being there because he wanted to get that video footage of him wrapped up in a blanket. He wanted to show the landscape with the white car and a cigarette in his hand. Yeah, he wanted to show the whole world that he was there. He even put the location on the screen to prove that he was at that Airbnb. And then he decides to just leave and go the wrong way. Oh, these guys are killing me with this. This lot fully done Jay dirty. These are meant to be Jay's friends, man. They have fully done Jay dirty for the sake of keeping Ayub out of jail and for the sake of this operation that was taking place at the Airbnb. Not only was this story put together to keep Ayub out of jail, I think this story was put together to keep all of them out of jail. The moment we see that video of Jay filming Ayub saying that he is on his way to sell this Rolex for 10 quid, that is the moment where we can say Jay is done. That was them making it look like it was Jay, which means at that point they knew Jay was already dead, because you wouldn't have fabricated that information from that point onwards if you didn't know Jay was already dead. See, the thing is, Brad, Brandon, and Lucy, if they weren't together and they all had individual calls with Jay, they wouldn't be telling you the same thing. When I spoke to Jay, he had been walking for 30 minutes. When I spoke to Jay, he went off road.
Took it first. Then he sent me the location, and we realised that, oh shit. But in this time, I think you've already been on the phone to Brad.
Yeah.
What? Let's pull this guy up. He's not making sense, and there's a lot of gaps in what he's saying. Clearly prove he's lying. Let's just quickly go back.
I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm set off walking, me lad. He was laughing with it first.
So he set off walking and he was laughing at first. So that is just Brandon cleaning up the story, making sure Jay left the Airbnb. And when he left the Airbnb, he didn't fear for his life. Everything was normal. He was laughing at first. Again, it's to make it look like.
He sent me the location.
And then he sent you the location.
Realised. But, oh shit.
And then you said, you realised, and went, oh shit. And what was the oh shit about? What? He sent you the location, and what made you say, oh shit? Oh shit. Like the reactions don't make any sense. He sent you the location, and then you realized and said, oh shit, you're about to fall off a cliff. Stop walking. No, we're going to come to the rescue. No, actually, we're not. Should we send you a cab? No, we're not. Actually, do you want to go to the bus stop? No, forget the bus stop. It doesn't run. Go back to the Airbnb. No, you don't want to go back there. What made you say, oh shit? What are we talking about? See, at this point, Jay has only just gone off road. He's not that far away. He's still got a very, very long way to go before he falls off any type of cliff. So what is the need for Brandon to say, oh shit? Once they realized what? What did you realize? That Jay had only walked for 30 minutes, as he claimed on the phone? Because if that's the case, it would have only taken him to the viewpoint. So what's the need for, oh shit?
In this time, I think you've already been on the phone to Brad.
Yeah.
In this time, I think he's already been on the phone to Brad. How could he have already been on the phone to Brad when he was on the phone to you? You said that he left the Airbnb whilst on the phone to you, more or less. He was laughing and said, I'm on a walk now, I'm walking. Because I'm pretty sure you were just saying he sent you the location, you realized and said, oh shit. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, but Brad definitely had a call in between all of this.
He was laughing with it first. Then he sent me the location, and we realised.
When he says we realized, who is he talking about? And then if you listen to what he's saying there, ladies and gentlemen, who said that to us before? Oh, Brad. Brad said the same thing. Oh, I told him to send us the location. And then we realized how far away we were. How can Brad and Brandon have the same story, but they had two different phone calls and conversations with Jay? That they both told him to send the location or turn his location on. And he wasn't concerned until we realized how far away we were. And that's more or less what Brandon is saying here.
But oh shit. But in this time, I think you've already been on the phone to Brad.
Yeah.
Then I rung Lucy, and then Lucy rung him.
Right.
So he then rung Lucy, and then Lucy rung him. So Jay never rung Lucy then. So who did Jay send the screenshots to? How did you get screenshots of his location? One from WhatsApp and the other from Snapchat. How was that possible?
Then that was the last I heard from Jay.
Yeah.
And that was the last I heard from Jay. That easy, that simple. My job's done. Corroborated Ayub's side of the story. Yep, Jay left. He was happy when he left. I'm making sure it's adding up to what Brad's going to say in the next coming days. Somehow in that conversation, Brad spoke to Jay according to Brandon, and Brad told us that when he was speaking to Jay, he thinks that he was getting another call from someone else.
When he was talking to you, he was walking, was he, in the last part?
Yeah, he said to me on the phone, I remember these exact words. He said, oh.
Brandon's about to say, I remember his exact words. What was his exact words, Brandon?
I've gone off-roading me, bro.
I've gone off road, you see, bro. So you remember his exact words. And he told you, I've gone off road, you see, bro. Oh, and he told Brad the same thing. I've gone off road, you see, bro. But you remember those exact words. Why do you remember those exact words out of everything else that Jay would have told you in that conversation? Oh, because you're making it look like Jay went off road to walk through the ravine and woof, he fell off a cliff. Yeah, because you're going to find him at the bottom of a cliff. So I need to make sure I tell you that I remember specifically he went off road. I remember him telling me this. He went off road. Yeah, he was off road.
I've gone off road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have been shortly before
Yeah.
he sent you the location, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Glitch. Wasn't too sure. I need to think. Make sure I don't get it wrong. Yeah. We know how the thing sets, man. I can't believe Mark Williams Thomas has literally fallen for all of this BS and wasn't able to put the dots together and understand that he got played. It is clear as day they are playing him. They are planting certain seeds, certain information, which later on Ayub is going to come and clean it all up. He's going to come and downplay it all. He was a part of fabricating it. He was a part of making it look like Jay stole a Rolex, then changed it to AP. He was the guy that took the picture of Jay in the back of the car, for fuck's sake. The guy that saved Jay, scooped him up for that dangerous strip and took him all the way back to the Airbnb where he was never, ever seen again.
Right. So he said, I've got off road, and what, did anything else?
No, not really. That comes to mind.
Okay.
No, not really that comes to mind, because the main point for Brandon is to just confirm he left the Airbnb, everything was hunky-dory, and he went off roads. Why were those points so key? Oh yeah, because you're going to find this guy at the bottom of a cliff. Another reason why we can say at this point that Jay never walked up that road, because no one's seen him walk up that road. Mark Williams Thomas confirms that the statement that we have been given to suggest that Ophelia saw Jay the second time, 15 minutes later, while she was driving to go and collect her insurance policy, although that's actually written in the inquest paperwork, Mark is basically saying it's false. It's a lie. It never happened. Ophelia told him that she never see Jay the second time. She only see Jay at the bus stop. So where the hell did that part of the statement come from? And who the hell has slipped that into the inquest? It makes no sense. Clearly proves that there is a cover-up, Spanish cover-up, 110%. Everybody's being played, not only Mark Williams Thomas. We have, the courts are, Debbie and Warren are, and we're being played by the likes of Ayub. We're being played by the likes of Jay's friends. And I say Jay's friends, let me rephrase that. Brandon and Lucy, the snakes. We're being played by the likes of Chris Tenerife. We're being played by the likes of Sluggy the side chick. Those 5 people have single-handedly been playing us. And there's more people involved, ladies and gentlemen, 110% more people involved that are silent partners in this.
And then after that, and then did you say to him, well, where are you? And then he sends a location.
Yeah, I had to tell him how to do it, though.
Oh, okay. And he said...
You had to tell him how to do it, though. How did you tell him how to do it? Screenshot it and send it over that way? Is that how you told him how to do it? Are we basically saying that Jay doesn't know how to send a location via WhatsApp or Snapchat? A guy that we regularly see using his phone doesn't know how to send his location. He needs Brandon to tell him how to do it. The one thing that hasn't been mentioned is the footage from Jay's actual phone. We know Jay was filming himself that evening whilst in Sugar Reef, whilst in the NRG festival. We know that because Jay was filmed drinking out of a Henny bottle, but he had his own phone in his hand filming himself. So where is all the footage of Jay in Sugar Reef? Where is the footage of Jay in the NRG? Where is the footage of Jay at the B&B? Where is the footage of Jay? Where? Because the guy was constantly filming himself. Even Brad was filming Jay. Jay loves to use his phone. Jay's an iPhone wizard, but for some reason, Brandon needs to help him and show him how to forward his location, which is a single press of a button and then clicking the contact you want to send it to.
To you on, was it Snapchat or WhatsApp? WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. It was on a WhatsApp.
Yeah, so the WhatsApp location. You told him how to do it, and he sent it to you.
Yeah.
The way Mark's talking at this point, it kind of sounds like he doesn't believe what Brandon's saying. That's because literally Brandon is talking BS. He is talking so much BS. Even his responses are absolute BS. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to leave it there. My house is absolutely boiling right now. We have not finished, but what we have just listened to, another waffle session, more lies. Brandon proving that him, Lucy, and Ayub, as well as Brad's, to a degree, have come together to make it look like Jay was out of the Airbnb, walked the wrong way, and then fell off a cliff. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put a pin in it right there. Make sure you don't go anywhere, and you are back here for part 4. Hit that like button, leave all of your thoughts and your comments down below. I need to know exactly what you guys are thinking. Turn your notification bells on, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.